Islam, Moors. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To his holy prophet. Noble true Ali. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have a true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Like yesterday.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you have any thoughts on yesterday, we want to say give honors to 5 principles for always coming through with the good meal for the barbecue. All the Moors who were in attendance, all the Moors who tried to get there and couldn't get there, and all the Moors who had to leave early, and all the Moors who, wanted to be there but couldn't be there. But it was a good, as usual, it was a good sit down, a good build, a good everything. So if you have any thoughts on yesterday, you can put those up.
Well, you were just reading about the ones that will come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Distraction, whatever.
Yeah. They're trying every weak mind
To
overthrow and drag out the true foundation.
The guy yesterday.
Yeah.
He's one of them you gotta be watching for.
Yeah. These are trying hours now, dear Moors.
Trying hours.
Trying hours.
I'll try.
They gotta try.
They gotta try.
They gotta try. So today we're gonna go through some info dealing with the campaign that we have going on right now with this changing of the business names in Europe, in Germany. There's probably about the past like 4 or 5 years or something. There's been this thing going on about changing the Moorish names to something else because it's racist or whatever. Names are racist, so they want to change that. But we also, in Germany. So we had, I don't know if you saw any of the lives that we did with, we uploaded with brother Asanaya, brother Sheldon, and sister Khalifa. They're in Germany right now.
Yeah.
So they were at one of the, where's the thing at? They were at the Morin house. They were at this spot right here. It's a tea shop in Germany. Yeah, so they're at this tea shop, and they're at the tea shop, and it turned into this like fascinating thing because it's a Moorish tea shop, and then there's Moors outside the tea shop drinking tea or whatever, right? So people are like tripping out or whatever. So talking to them, they found out that people want them to change the name of the place because they're saying that the Moorian name is racist and it's derogatory toward people of color there and all this stuff. So we're going on this little campaign to push, the historical aspect of it, right? So there are some articles that we found with regard to that, and the other thing that came up was I don't know if anybody saw the Sri Lankans protests when they raided not raided, but they rushed the presidential palace in Sri Lanka. Yeah, like they're talking about everybody ran in there. Like ran in there. They were in the pool and all that. They were swimming and all that. They went up. So the Moors, Brother Sundiata and Brother Cush did a live yesterday talking about that and talking about some other stuff. So we're gonna listen to some of that. So if you have any input, just let me know. We'll pause and then we could discuss some stuff. But we're gonna go through some of that video as well as some of these articles and all that.
If we looked at books like this and we start learning what we need to learn, not making no more excuses up. Nah, we gotta stop making all them excuses up about we ain't got time. We tired of what's going on, but we don't want to read nothing. Cause it ain't gonna change nothing. Cause it's the white man books. All that bullshit ass excuses. You see what happened in Sri Lanka? They over there own that in Sri Lanka right now. They over there own that in Sri Lanka. They took over. They took over in Sri Lanka because they looking like, man, look, we won't change. We won't change right now. Y'all in here with this political bureaucratic bullshit. We won't change right now. What's on your wall? You got something on your wall? You repping something? You repping something? What you doing? Is you repping something? Cause real rap, G. We talking about the art of war. We talking about law. all these different subjects are deliberately not taught to our people. Look at books like this, and we start learning what we need to learn. Now I'm making them. You know, all these different subjects are deliberately not taught to our people. Without guns. Reaper Brother Grimm. That's a great point, boy. I didn't see nobody with no guns on that video. Did you see somebody with guns in the video?
Firearms.
Did you see anybody with guns in that video, though?
No, I ain't seen nobody with.
And they stormed it, and they took over. They stormed it, and they took over.
That's the same thing that happened on the Capitol. Well, didn't nobody have firearms when they came on the Capitol on January 6th, and nobody had, but them people still in prison. They still locked up, and y'all want to call them racist.
What are you talking about?
The people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th. And they want to call them people racist and all that stuff. Nah.
English right here, man. Keep talking to him. Talk to
They
him.
went down. I mean, it's just like it's really getting like it's starting to be like a repeat of the shit that we talking about. Like it's like it's too just like too dumb to keep on saying this shit over and over again when people they're not getting it, boy. You can't have freedom. You can't have freedom without
be ignorant and free.
Without exercising your rights and not knowing your rights. Period, man.
You can't exercise shit you don't know.
It's like
that's another thing.
We keep talking about it, but
you can't be ignorant.
Everybody don't want to do the work.
And
you don't want to do the work.
Look at this right here. Look at this right here. They weren't waiting on nobody to do what they did. Did they, G? What Thomas Jefferson said, you can't be ignorant and free. You can't be. You can't keep complaining about the conditions going on, but you ain't doing nothing with your own self.
They don't know how to enforce the law.
Because they don't know the law. People need to start really comprehending, man. You have something known as unalienable rights. Unalienable rights. That means can't nobody take nothing that God gave you already. It ain't no, well, the white man got me down right now, so I can't do nothing. You don't know law. That's why you talking like that.
Law and history is synonymous.
Exactly. You talking like that because you don't know law. Look, man, fam, you got something out here. First thing you got to do is you got to really realize that this is the supreme law of the land. If you don't know the supreme law of the land, somebody could be like this. Hey, you committed a crime. First thing you want to do is say, I did?
That was the first thing we were talking about. That's what we were talking about earlier with the law enforcement code of ethics. That if the people who are claiming to be law enforcement aren't studying the Constitution and aren't forcing it, then obviously they're not the law. Because the law of the land has to be applied to everybody. Everybody should know it. It shouldn't be something that, well, some people over here know, and then some people over here are in debates about it. It should be what it is across the board.
From school, they should
right?
have that as a subject.
As a subject.
Remember they used to have religious knowledge as a subject in school?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They should have
They made sure you teach it. They made sure to teach people their religion.
Yeah.
They made sure of it.
Yeah.
That only happens now in Catholic schools.
Yeah.
They only do
Yeah.
it now. Yeah.
It has to be some type of religious school
Yeah.
in order to learn that. Yeah.
Before it was straight out, any school.
Any school.
My
Yeah,
days.
understandable.
Actually, same thing you were talking about too with the with all the trades.
Yeah.
That they took all the trades out.
Yeah.
Now all you got right now is woodworking. I don't think too many schools have auto mechanics anymore. They might have home ec still, sewing and stuff like that or whatever. But electrician, none of that. Plumbing, none of that. Any type of building, like I said, all they have is woodworking. And even the woodworking is slipping now because the school's not even funding those departments and stuff anymore. Right?
What crime did I commit?
Prime example.
You don't know. Talk to him.
Prime example today. I put up my Confederate flag outside and had it flying, right? Why the police stop in front of my house? Guess what they did? Nothing. Because they can't do nothing. They can't enforce nothing. Because they the servants.
Yeah.
We the people. We tell them what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
But you can't tell them what the fuck to do if you don't know the law. And you don't know the history behind the laws and the documentation. You can't do shit.
Check this out.
So they can violate your rights anytime they want to.
Because you don't know no better.
You don't know.
Look at this. Hit him with that. Yeah, hit him with that. Because look at this, y'all. Peace and love to all the Muslims, fam. We got to start learning language that's actually effective for change. Complaining about stuff day after day, year after year, that's not language to affect change. That's just complaining. Only language that's going to be heard by people is language that's correct and language that got something to do with law, not complaints. Look, it say this right here, man. Every human right.
Speaking about that, could you talk about some of the wrong language from the dude yesterday? Yeah. You address some of that because I wasn't in the convo because I already know what's up. Dealt with him. We've been dealt with him. But what wrong language you take away from this individual yesterday?
They're calling the island he was from, Trinidad. Saying that change the name and such and such, but you still call the colonial Spanish name. Right? So that's one. A couple of things.
And the Negro whatever United thing that is pushing. And not accepting the fact that they're still calling the people nigger.
Yeah.
What nigger are you talking about? Nigger does not birthright.
Yeah.
What nigger does not right. So,
And then Ethiopia too. Again, you're saying Ethiopia.
it's like saying nigger.
Don't say we're not Negro, black, colored Ethiopians.
No.
Doing it again.
Specifically. So many places in Africa, in so-called Africa, but Ethiopia, we specify that one.
Yeah.
Didn't say South Africa and whatever he said Ethiopia. Because he knew what's coming. He knew people like these were coming. Yeah. He knew that.
Has always existed because every living soul is endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, as the Declaration of Independence stated. So it's not necessarily that you have to know the whole damn law book, but you have to know enough to be competent in law, which is that you have human rights, not civil rights. You have human rights. And that was given to you not by man, by God. He gave us that. So you got to know that. And that's where the power come in at. Because once you know that you got rights from God, can't no man take them away from you. But you got to know what them rights is, though. See that? And it says, what is a right? A right is a legal or ethical entitlement. The framers identified two basic rights. Those legal rights granted by the government and those natural or unalienable rights that are gifts from the Creator. That's what we got. Talk to him, boy. What did Patrick Henry say? What did Patrick Henry say? You ever heard of Patrick Henry? You ever heard of Patrick Henry, man?
Patrick Henry said, he said, is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as far as me, give me liberty or give me death.
Give me liberty or give me death.
Are you willing to die for your freedom and your liberties right now?
Give
Like
me
the people in
liberty.
Sri Lanka?
Hold on, what is saying right there? Hold on, put that right there.
Coward ass, entitled ass Americans.
Where's
So
that?
called.
Where's
I
that
can't
video?
even call y'all Americans.
Where's that video at?
Y'all subjects.
Because you want to be black.
Y'all, you not even American yet because you don't know your rights.
By blood, you American. Hold on, where's that?
You a slave.
Where's that?
You a slave.
So I'm just curious to who's on the end, which is claiming to be a Moor in the.
Oh, both of them.
So they're speaking on just. They're not speaking to each other.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're speaking to they're speaking to the viewers.
To viewers.
Yeah.
Because they're probably typing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, again, they brought up Sri Lanka, so we're just gonna touch on this. Brother Vincere posted this a little while ago. I don't know if it was earlier today or yesterday or whatever. The father of the Moors. It was way back in 1908 that S.L. Muhammad, along with members of the Jamiatul Ahmadiyya Society and the trustees of the Colombo Grand Mosque, got together to form the Moors Sports Club. It's near Sri Lanka. It's not Moor, right? The Moors Sports Club. Sri Lanka is a resplendent isle blessed with a rich cultural heritage. As such, there is unity in diversity, which has been brought about as a result of its people taking to serious sports. Sinhalese, Tamils, Moors, Malay, Burghers, Memons, and Boras are names indicative of the ethnic diversity. Despite this reality, it is indeed amazing that these differences have not divided the people. On the contrary, the spirit of sports have truly served to build unity, harmony, and understanding among the various ethnic groups. This in sports is the greatest triumph in life. The lesson of Moors is a lesson for all to build a strong nation of unity and peace. Right? So they're talking about all these different diverse populations in that jurisdiction. But all these diverse populations belong to the Moor Sports Club. Not the Sinhalese Sports Club, not the Tamil Sports Club, not the Burgher Sport Club, not the Memon Sport Club, not the Bora Sport, not the Sri Lankan Sport, not the Ceylon Sports Club, not the East India Sports Club, not the Central India Sports Club, the Moor Sports Club. So all of them are galvanizing under this one brand, this one title, this one name. And that's how they have their unity. Which is why when you watch the videos of them storming the presidential palace, you see one flag out there. You have 50 different flags from all these different groups and all that, saying that, oh yeah, we're different.
Let's back up a little bit. That's something we watch on the internet. I don't see it yet. You see it, whatever. But did we remember with our own eyes over Lakeshore or whatever Gardner,
yep.
Shut it down?
Yep.
You remember that one?
Yep. That was real time.
Not black people shut it down.
Yep.
But it's darker than us.
Yo, way darker. Yep.
Good. And they shut it down.
Uh-huh.
See now?
Rush hour, midday.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Rush hour.
For people remember that.
Rush hour.
And now when you're in town, they take out that with no gun, no weapon.
Nothing.
Nothing.
The power of the people.
Here you go.
And all of them being of all these different diverse statuses.
Like how they have us as tribes.
Yeah.
Or tribes.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be one.
When you're supposed to be one.
One Moorish.
Yep.
thing.
The breakdown is the tribe.
Yeah.
And then we get stuck on the breakdown.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying, Trinidadian and Jamaican and all these different Bayesian and all. When all these people look the same, just like the Moors near Ceylon, Sri Lanka, all of them look the same. unless you have a conversation with them, you wouldn't know that they're of different groups. You know, you just say, oh, he's a Sri Lankan. No, he's not. He's Tamil. Then that one over there is another thing. And then that one over there is a different one. But when it's time for national unity, all of them aren't bringing out their own little flag, like how we do in Caravana. You got 50 different flags out there. And everybody's parading around like their flag is the flag. None of those flags are the flag. That's just the tribe. If you're talking about unity, everybody's going to have one. It's not going to be all these multiple different versions. And then speaking about diversity, Brother Rennie, I know you were in the convoy yesterday with
Korean and the Indian.
oh, not even that part. I forgot about that. You can talk about that too. But with the brother who was debating Noir and them.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up listening to the video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. You got. That's why I said, yeah.
So I had to actually listen to the whole
Yeah. But yeah. So we, if you could touch on what you thought of that with him and his wherever he's coming from, and then talk about the South Asians and the Hindustani conversation.
It's like, you know, that's one of our own, the guy that was going with us.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the two brothers, the South Korean guy and the Hindustani. You know, they have their nationalities, and this guy's claiming to be from Trinidad and Tobago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
you're talking about that one guy came in last?
no, the one that was, you know, had his
He was there from early.
the house last year, you know, the guy that's
Look, I seen a Korean guy there. That came
talking about the one we're building with that have the.
You come with the video when you start doing the video, the shot guy is talking. The stock guy.
Yeah.
You assume them you have the dog there too.
Oh, yeah, no, Jesse, no, not him.
No.
Yeah, no, Jesse's been down. Jesse's a brother in the Asian body. Yeah. He's a brother in the Asian body. Yeah, he's been around. But yeah, with the two the cyclists,
Right.
how that come about?
They had no debate. You know, they didn't want to say no, you were wrong. You know, this brother, our own, he's telling us, and you know, from the looks of it, from the sounds and looks of it, it seems like he's been.
Oh yeah. I told you that was from 2012, right? The video.
Right.
Yeah.
We're
2022 now.
Still on the same.
The same vibration.
Right. So
Exact same. Nothing different.
Nothing different. So it's like the other nations, they're so intrigued to learn and just find out what it is. Like, what's the South Korean guy goes, what do you mean you guys have a green star with a red background? What is that? He's so intrigued. Like, I have to ask, you know?
Yeah.
And then, he got the answers he was looking for. But then what intrigued me was the fact that he's like, I got to go back home and study more of the history and come back here. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, there you go. I hope you got learned enough before I came here.
Yeah.
And so,
Where is he from?
South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
I met one before too. And continue.
They have no the other nations. They have no disagreements with us. You know.
Yeah.
The Moorish. It's just our own people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's always our own.
This is our own people, right? You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, the video made me realize, some people are just literally cognitive. What did you say? Cognitive.
A dissonance. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a real thing. It's an actual real thing.
And if I only know all that before.
No, that's why I
I
went.
only know it before.
Yeah, no.
You
Yeah.
leave already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I left it alone, because I know, because it's a thing where Cujo doing it all the time. You know, they're not gonna take it serious. You know what I mean? Because so let some other Moors beat them up a little bit.
Yeah.
And see how it feels. You know, to get it from other sides. You know what I mean? Other ways. You know.
So funny how it just felt. You could just feel his energy is so defensive.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like you're eating with us.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
He's like, we could say, I'll never agree with this. I heard that. I was like, Oh, yeah,
I'll never agree with this. You already decided that.
Yeah, it's in his mind already. It's in his mind.
Hearing what I have to say.
Yeah.
But then we're telling him, it's like, oh, okay, let's agree to disagree. And just leave it at that. Nah, I need to keep talking. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do the honors of that bag while you're here right now, just so you could get the because there's a whole ritual with the whole, taking it out the bag and putting it on for the first time and all that stuff. So I don't know if you want to do it here now or if you want to save it till later, do it at home or whatever. But there's a thing that goes on when Moors get their fez for the first time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So since you're in the temple and all that, you might we might as well get it going on right now, and then we could talk about if you how the vibe was after you got it on. Cause there was a brother Casanova Bay who used to do he used to record all the unpackings of people getting their fezzes or whatever, and get videos sent to him so that they can so you can get their energy, what they're going through real time. You know what I mean? Taking it out the box and putting it on for the first time and all that. So we
camera, we had a cool favorite quarterback.
Oh, you're right. It's a little big.
Well, it's all right.
It's all right. It's the fact that you're, you can change his ear. You said yours is big. That's it.
Yeah, you'll probably have to do a turban around or even with the hat under. Yeah, even with the hat under for now. And then it's a fitted. If you just get a fitted, and then whatever size that is, you can get it from you get the size from the fitted hat. So if you go one of them sports spots or whatever, you could do it that way.
And nature's God, human rights are universal and in every person. This is what you got already. They may not be taken away. Other rights that are vested, supplied by the government, may be removed, but not human rights. We got human rights, my nigga, not something that was given to us by a man or woman. We got natural, unalienable human rights. But you notice stuff. These people out here, they doing this with our people. They playing the art of war because they know the goddamn school system got our people in a motherfucking space where they think like, no, rights don't. What you mean we got rights? What you mean we got rights?
They think they're free. They think they can go to other places, other nations. But you think you could take your ugly ass to other nations like Russia and China and have the same freedoms that you have over here? You got that shit fucking wrong. You an entitled, spoiled little punk.
What that video is?
That's what's wrong with you. You can't take the American freedoms over there. They got different laws.
What that video?
That's just common sense. What video?
The video you talking about?
You talking about
the sister, the basketball player.
Okay.
She went to Russia and she had vape pens.
Yeah.
And then they kidnapped her because she had vape pens, and they want to give her 10 years for bringing drugs into the country or whatever. CBD vape pen. 10 years in Russia prison for a vape pen. Yeah. Wild. Right. So then,
what's her nationality like in terms of like who she is? What is she?
Yeah, she's from this side. Yeah. WNBA player. Brianna something.
so it's like a black status.
Yeah.
I was talking to the South Korean guy, and he guys telling me his name. He actually told me his South Korean name. He told me his Canadian name.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, like it's my name. My Canadian name's Tommy. So I'm like, Tommy. I'm like, no, give me your actual name. He goes, Young something. But what you bet, like. So when I mentioned, I'm like, when you get problems in here, you go to your consulate, right? He's like, yeah. Go to my consulate. We deal with. So it's like the same thing, similar thing, Do you know a lot?
Yeah.
Right.
And her consulate's URS.
Right.
So she wrote to Biden.
Right.
She wrote to Biden or whatever to do something because I think there's a few other people over there locked up for something.
Right.
And I guess they abandoned them or whatever like that. So she's talking about, you gotta abandon us here and all this. You gotta, you need to help. You're our president and all this. But we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
The Liberty Hangout, yeah, I got that too. It's on there too. Go to my phone. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we going in though.
Yeah, we gonna go in tonight. Straight up. Stop being spoiled. Stop. You entitled. Oh, you think you can bring a CBD oil over there in Russia?
Because this is what happened.
Yeah.
This is what happened right here. This is what happens. Look, this is what happens. See, y'all people so used to being like, well, I'm entitled because I was born here. You ain't supposed to do what you supposed to do. This what they looking at this shit like. They say, all the war shit. Oh, yeah? You was born here, but you don't know your rights, and I for damn sure ain't gonna teach you. So what we gonna do? We gonna play. So he go like this. They using art of war on our people. He say, hence the saying, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. See that? See that right there? See? If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. And what's happening with our people is we keep thinking we keep losing because our goddamn skin color. That's the thing. We're not losing because of our goddamn skin complexion. We're losing because we are not competent in this. This right here.
In this.
This right here, G.
And in this.
Law. We're not competent by design.
And what's the supreme law?
By design, fam.
What's the supreme law?
Talk to him.
The Constitution for the United States is the supreme contract by which judges and all other officers of the court are bound to know.
So they bound to know these. They bound to know this.
Bound by the contract.
So they bound to know this.
Say it again.
I'm saying that's a twin that when they built.
Yeah.
Wish I had a twin to build it like that.
I know. Yeah, I know. Oh, your twins jump ship, huh?
Bound, nigga. And if they violate that shit, you can hold them to that shit and sue the shit out of them or make their ass go to jail.
You know what happened in Sri Lanka today? Sri Lanka today, the people just took over. It was an uprising for the people. Ain't nobody had no guns out there that I seen. Yeah, it's basically a lot.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're in the bed and everything, eating the food and everything.
Going off.
It's like having a good time.
Went off.
India, Sri Lanka, they all like, this is what I'm talking about. If we're all Moors, you said, we're all Moors. You guys, Canada's not Canada.
Stuff is over.
That energy rate, it would be done.
Stuff is over.
The way I see what they did, these guys are laid in the bed and they're just laughing. And then some of them are in the kitchen cutting up fruit.
Yo, they went off. I was watching it this morning. I was like,
I seen one in the video of the one doing the splash. The one the guy did the backsplash.
Yeah, dude.
What's going on here? Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Right?
So
And then think about how, like you talk about, the whole impoverished, whatever, and then they go up in that spot.
Right.
This one guy has a pool. You know what I mean? One man has a pool
Look, this guy.
One man has a pool. One man has a big bed for himself or whatever like that. You know what I mean? These people been sleeping on cardboard forever.
Yeah, right. That's the whole
Crazy.
thing, right? Like, there's no way this guy, our like economy is going like this.
Yeah.
And this guy's over here
Living like this. Yeah.
And then, you know what I'm saying? We're over here. No way.
Yeah.
The president was flipping the food.
Yeah, he was
Yeah. You know,
That's to show you, like, whenever I see those videos, like across the other side of the, the east.
Yeah.
It's like they're showing us through the media, like, this is what you guys should be doing over here, like in North America. Literally, like, yeah, we don't.
Yeah, like when the choppers were up there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, even though we don't petition.
No, not. But I'm only saying, like.
If you bring like all this stuff and turn
The action. Yeah. Everybody's sending signals. Everybody's sending signals to our people who just want to sit back, do stuff that is not going to give them what they're trying to get. Marching up and down, lay down in the street, paint the street, and all that stuff to get rights or whatever. But these Sri Lankans in the thousands said, "We're going in this palace.
Yeah, we're gonna go.
You're not stopping us from going in this palace. I don't care if you got army out there, military out there, guns, helmet, shields. We don't care. We're going up in this palace right here." And they went up in the palace.
And they enjoyed it.
They went up in there. One day of their life, they could say they were in the bed. One day, they're gonna go back to the cardboard tomorrow. It's not even gonna be that serious. They're all gonna walk out of there and leave like it's nothing. Yo, I was in the palace pool, backstroking. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
It's interesting. We'll see what's going on. It seems to me it's like a pattern of other nations realizing that their leaders are corrupt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And again, doing something about it. They're not sitting back. They found out somebody's corrupt and then they're sitting back. These Moors found out, Moors killed Drew Ali and then they're following these Moors who killed Noble Drew Ali. What are you talking about? Drew Ali even told you that these people are corrupt. They're not Moors, they're robbers. You chasing after them for it.
Lack of knowledge. That's the nail on the head. And it's not just the lack of knowledge.
Thank God.
It's not just the lack of knowledge. It's the fact that people so goddamn comfortable not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you don't know, then you don't know what to move like.
Mm-hmm.
So since our people make excuses up all the damn time, why we ain't got this? Why we ain't got that? Why y'all keep making videos just talking? We putting out the information that people we know ain't gonna read the shit.
We know.
We know you ain't son. A lot of people ain't gonna read the
Cush
shit.
and Sundiata, they gonna tell us. Nah. We gonna give you everything.
We can't give you everything because man knows not by being told. Can't give you everything. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's who people need to be following. Follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
And the truth.
And the truth will set you free.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of truth, you know what they did in Sri Lanka?
Mm-hmm.
That our people need to be doing right now?
And this was written in like what?
1776.
What?
Man. So we jumping in the time machine right now.
Mm.
Hear that Conway in the background? Shout out to Griselda. Look, you talking about, well, what can we do right now? What can we change right now? You know what we can change right now? We got to change our literature, to change our mindset. You don't change your mindset, you're not going to be able to do nothing physically. Because your goddamn mind is not sharp enough. It ain't.
Go ahead, Mark. Something about 1776. I was listening to the video you sent me about back in 2012. You mentioned the Articles of Confederacy, right?
Yeah.
And 1781. You mentioned 1781, Article 11.
Yeah.
And then in 1867 was Canada was incorporated, right?
Yeah.
So you made the good. I'm like, yo, you're right. It makes so much sense. Why would they? Somebody's lying because 1781 and 1867 are ways apart.
Yeah. Something's up.
Something's up. Right?
Yeah.
And then again, even in that, with House Resolution 754, 39 of Congress.
Right.
Right? It says that Canada's going to be sold to pretty much the U.S. after what they did during the Civil War.
Right.
They help us out.
So maybe that was 1867.
Yeah, so they tried, like they did it. That was done the year right before,
Right.
1867. So what was going on with the corporation that's U.S. and was Canada? Well, you sell it, and then a year later they could be in there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone's lying.
Strong enough.
You putting garbage in your shit.
You eating bullshit.
You putting garbage.
You drinking bullshit. So you gonna think bullshit.
Exactly.
Think about it. If you keep eating what they feed you, and I'm not talking about physical food right now. I'm talking about the narratives of bullshit.
No, go ahead, boy. Go
I
ahead.
told someone you really are what you eat. And I told someone I don't even wrong you for what you think because I know you never ate. You never ate a good breakfast. It's literally like that.
Yeah. And then going back to this thing about the messed up narratives. So we'll just get to some of these articles with regard to the changing of the names in Europe, taking all the more names off of things in Europe or whatever.
That's going on right now.
Yeah. So this is October 2020. This is the district administrator talking, right? So this is whoever, the head of this particular district is. Away with the more, district administrator rejects demand for change of coat of arms. By no means racist. The more is to disappear from the Garmisch Partenkirchen district coat of arms. He is racist. The district administrator rejects the request. The more is to disappear. Is this precedent? The debate about mooring in the coat of arms has now also reached the Garmisch district or Garmisch district. A petition demands the more must disappear. The more also appears in the Mittenwald coat of arms. He is not affected for now. District. The Red Lion could also look like Zugspitz in the eye, or the Castle Museum in Morneau, or a fluttering fellow in costume. Everything is possible. The main thing is that the Freising Moor with his red crown disappears from the coat of arms. This is how a woman imagines it. Neither the Landtag nor the Landesmat are known about her origin, who submitted the petition to the Bavarian state parliament. In it, she demands the more from the coat of arms, remove or redesign it accordingly. Remove or redesign it accordingly. In addition to Garmisch, this also applies to the city of Coburg and the district of Freising. Reason, the representation contains a false colonized image of the entire African population. Could it, so feared the initiator, prejudice against Black people, emerge or existing prejudices confirmed? District Administrator Anton Speer does not follow. On October 1st, he sent a statement to the responsible Ministry of the Interior on almost 3 pages. In it, he goes into detail on the historical background of the coat of arms. The Moor symbolizes that the country of Werdenfels belongs to the Principality of Freising. The depiction of the dark-skinned person wearing the crown is by no means racist. Historians also rated it as a mark of identification, not as degradation. Speer writes of an identification with the district and its history. Should we negate them? Asks his spokesman, Wolfgang Rothschild, who dealt intensively with the topic. He is not surprised by the discussion after it has come up again and again in different places over the past months and years. Also with regard to the Moor as namesake for places or hotels, of which there is also examples. You can lead the debate, right or not. He doesn't comment on that, but he makes one thing clear. The petition falls short. According to the motto, all or none, a Moor adorns the principal coat of arms of Ismaning and Unterforing. Not everyone likes that. The Greens want to debate the topic and explore the history of the motif. According to Dundon, the word Moor is considered discriminatory. In order to avoid the accusation of racism, the municipality has already made an important decision regarding an important award for the municipality. The Freising Moor appears many times, also in the coat of arms of the Mittenwald market. Moor also in the Mittenwald coat of arms. Historians see no racist reference. We were probably not looking at here, suspects Mayor Enrico Corangu, but the petition could have consequences for other places, he fears. If it has consequences for the country, because the historical backgrounds are similar, some time ago, Coraginu and his employees dealt more intensively with the coat of arms. Conclusion, there is no racist reference. The head of the Moor in Mittenwald, it wears a golden crown, is taken from the Diocese of Freising, which Mittenwald also bought in 1294. The coat of arms was awarded to Mittenwald as early as 1407 to the very first Bavarian municipality. Delete the Moor from all coat of arms? The Moor lacks a differentiated discussion. You have to talk about racism. Question the familiar. The N-word has to disappear. Corino leaves no doubt about these points, but he lacks differentiated thinking. That should be sensible and rational. What we are doing here, removing the Moor from the coat of arms after more than 600 years, is not part of the mayor's opinion. On the contrary, isn't that maybe racist, he asks? This is how you erase a piece of history. Spear wants to prevent that. I refuse to change the coat of arms on behalf of the district. He leads the ministry now. Now it is to turn off the petitions committee in the state parliament. According to a spokesperson, it is unclear when he will deal with the input and what the threats will be. Rashi does not dare to predict whether the decision would be legally binding at all. In the municipal ordinance, it is said that changing coat of arms is the responsibility of the municipalities. But Rashi puts a big question mark behind it. The Moor in the district of coat of arms, Mohrenkopf, is the Freising coat of arms. According to the Bavarian house history, it symbolizes the affiliation of the country to Werdenfels, to the Hochstifts Freising of the 13th to beginning of the 19th century. It has been valid in its current form with diamonds and the lion reference to the Guelphs as the dominant rule before Freising since 1962. After the regional form in 1972, it was taken over. In general, the Moor is an outdated term for people with dark skin. Among other things, it is criticized that whites introduced the term. Africans did not call themselves that. In addition, Moor is often portrayed as a stereotype. Original message, Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. from the district. Frizzy hair, plump lips, and a ring in the ear. Does the depiction of a Moor in Bavaria's city arms convey a false colonized image? The Bavarian state parliament must now decide on this. The petition is to remove the coat of arms. The district office submitted a statement to the Bavarian Ministry of the Interior at the beginning of October, which it also made available to the media on Tuesday. In it, the authority precisely explains the historical background of the Morin figure. Morin in the coat of arms, racist. Petition is before the Bavarian state parliament, the Mohrenkopf. the Freising coat of arms symbolizes the affiliation of the country to the Wardenfels, to the Hofstift Freising. This lasted from the 13th to the beginning of the 19th century. District Administrator Anton Spears takes a clear position at the end of the almost 3-page letter. I reject a change in the coat of arms on behalf of the Garmisch district. The Lord Mayor of Coburg had already asked around in this decision-making bodies. Political majorities to change the city coat of arms are not perceptible in the committees of the city of Coburg, he emphasized in his statement. The representation honors City Saint Mauritius and has no racist origin. According to the spokesman, it was still unclear when the Committee for Submissions and Complaints in the State Parliament would deal with the petition and what consequences there might be. According to municipal code, changing coat of arms is basically the responsibility of the municipalities. March 18th, 2021. Redebule, Mohrenstraße, culture of remembrance or racism. First Berlin, now Redebule. In the Saxon city, the M word, the M word divides the residents. But while the population is largely free of ideology, the city's official gazette ridicules the debate. The term is worth a closer look. At the beginning, there was a letter. Pupils of the Radenbell group, Racism is Not an Alternative, asked all parliamentary groups of the council of the small Saxon town to discuss a street name and the name of a historical building and consider renaming it. It's about the term Moor. In addition, Mohrenstraße, it is the Morin house that makes the old name for Black people a natural part of the common language of Radenbühl. The Rika group considers this to be racist, and there is a dispute about this Radenbühl. 2 petitions were launched on the open petition internet platform. In addition to the demand to delete the name Mohrenhaus, the parents of the daycare center in the building in question started the campaign, Mohrenhaus shall remain Mohrenhaus. Radebeul is one of the several cities in which the renaming of a street, restaurant, or pharmacy names is required because they are perceived as racist. The debate about Berlin's Mohrenstraße caused a stir nationwide. Late August, at the request of the SPD and the Greens, and with the support of the Left Party, the District Assembly of Berlin decided to rename Mohrenstraße to Anton Wilhelm Amo-Straße, and thus to honor the first Black European university professor. The term Moor originally referred to the people of Mauritania. In the course of time, it became common in Europe as a general term for people with dark skin color. But that happened in times when people called Moors were often not viewed as having equal rights. The contenders for maintaining Berlin's Mohrenstraße emphasize that with Mohrenstraße, Prussia had explicitly wanted to express its respect for the then exotic residents of the city. Now, what's interesting, plot twist, Anton Wilhelm Amen is who they named the street after. When they said they're not going to call it Mohrenstraße, they're going to name it after this individual. So Anton Wilhelm Amo argues against the legality of slavery in Europe, 1729. Anton Wilhelm Amo was an African born in Axum in today's Ghana. He was raised in the household of the Dukes of Braunschweig-Wolfenbüttel and studied and taught philosophy at German universities, where he became embroiled in a bitter philosophical debate that reached well beyond the ivory tower. Authorities and critics eventually made his position so uncomfortable that he returned to Axum around 1747. During his time in Germany, his African heritage seems to have remained important to him, and it was a factor in the opportunities and limits that shaped his career. In 1729, at the University of Halle, he defended his master's thesis entitled, ready? Inaugural Dissertation on the Law of Moors in Europe. This is who they named the street after. They took off the Moor name from the street to name it after a Moor who had a dissertation called Inaugural Dissertation on the Law of Moors in Europe. While the dissertation regrettably has been lost, we know of its content from late summaries by Johann Peter von Ludwig and Johann Heinrich Zedler. It seems that Amo argued that Africans who had been vassals of Rome had the same rights as Europeans not to be enslaved. The argument is noteworthy for being a scholastic argument against slavery, based not in sentimental appeals or biblical references, but rather attacks on the fundamental legality of the institution. Oh, it gets more interesting. Anton Wilhelm Amo, first African philosopher in European universities. In a time of the breaking down of traditional racial barriers and ancient prejudices, it is appropriate in view of the stubborn persistence of conservative views to call attention to a personality of historical value. This is the Zima Anton Wilhelm Amo, born in Kubim near Axum in what is now Ghana, and a student and teacher at the universities of Halle, Wittenberg, and Jena more than 250 years ago. He emerges from the darkness of the past with an entry in a church register in the city of Wolfenbüttel, dated July 29th, 1707. It records the baptism of Anton Wilhelm as a small Moor. This is the guy again who they took the name Moor down. This is what we're talking about or what Brother Cush was talking about people buying into the fake narrative. So they go through all this stuff, petition, whatever like that. You know, this name's racist, we need to change the name. The petition gets approved to change the name, and then they name the street after a Moor still, when the street was called a Moor anyways. So what was the point of even going through all this whole hoopla to change the name, right? If they're gonna name it after a Moor anyways, right? And not even name after a Moor that, you know, they don't acknowledge or they don't know or whatever like that. He's well known over there. It's a fact that he's a Moor because his baptismal stuff even says he's a Moor, right? While he David Henry Gallandat, Necessary Instructions for Slave Traders, Middleburg, 1769. Through the 40 pages of the pamphlet, it is striking to see how much concern Gallandat shows for the physical and mental well-being of the slaves without at any time doubting the legitimacy of the trade itself. Despite engaging in the commerce of his people, there was at least one African in Guinea at the time that Gallant respected and admired. When the physician died in 1782, his biography contained the following note. While he was on a trip to Axum on the Gold Coast in Africa, he went to visit the famous Mr. Anton William Amo, a Guinea African doctor of philosophy and master of arts. He was a Negro who lived about 30 years in Europe. He had been in Amsterdam in the year 1707 and was presented to the Duke Atan Ulrich, who gave him later to his son, August Wilhelm. The latter made it possible for him to study at Halle and Wittenberg. In the year 1727, he was promoted Doctor of Philosophy and Master in the Liberal Arts. Sometime after his master died, this made him so depressed that it influenced him to return to his fatherland. Here, he lived like a hermit and acquired a reputation of a soothsayer. He spoke different languages, including Hebrew, Greek, Latin, French, and High and Low German. He was skilled in astrology and astronomy and was generally a great sage. He was then about 50 years old. His father and one sister were still alive and resided at a place 4 days' journey inland. He had a brother who was a slave in the colony of Suriname. Later, he left Axum and went to live in the fort of the West Indies Company of St. Sebastian in Chama.
West Indies? You say West Indies?
Yeah, West Indies Colony. The West Indies Company, sorry. West Indies Company of St. Sebastian Chama. And the West Indies Colony of St. Sebastian Fort of St. Sebastian Chama. St. Sebastian Film Festival. Anything coming up for that? These words. Oh, Chama is a village in Rio Arriba County, New Mexico. Peace. Come on in. All right. So again, going back to this idea of the street name change, and them going through all this to say that the Moorish street names are racist and they shouldn't do that and whatever. They go right around and name it after a Moor, and now they're happy. Which again goes back to the cognitive dissonance, goes back to the mental slavery, goes back to everything that we're talking about, that there's something wrong with the people. There's something wrong with them mentally if they're gonna go as far as getting the name change and then still naming the street after a Moor anyways. Right.
When you think about it, all the names were pretty much Moorish names, titles were coming from that, right?
Mm-hmm. right? And again, go into the thing again with Sri Lanka, that these the Negro protests is go do some filing of some whatever, and the Sri Lankans just ran up into parliament, right, to get what it is, to get whatever they're looking to get, right.
The phone line is down and the internet down, we have to go in person now.
Right. Debate resurfaced. So it's interesting that the debate of the name change thing resurfaced because of the Black Lives Matter protests and all that stuff, right? The long-standing debate surrounding the controversial street name came to a head following the death of a Black man, George Floyd, at the hands of white police officers. It sparked Black Lives Matter protests across the globe, including many in Germany. Mohren, M-O-H-R-E-N, the German word for Moors, refers to Black slaves brought from North Africa to Berlin in the early 18th century and is widely considered to be racist and derogatory. But then we had just read, actually, let's read this part. So going back again, he emerges from the darkness of the past with an entry in a church register in the city of Wolfbüttel, dated July 29, 1707. It records the baptism of a small Moor with the name Anton Wilhelm, after the reigning Duke Anton Ulrich and his son Wilhelm August. Both were inclined toward the Enlightenment and were related by marriage to Tsar Peter I of Russia, with whom they shared not only the predilection for the philosophy of Christian Wolff. To Peter's court, too, was brought an African boy baptized Ibrahim Petrovich Hannibal. Both Moors had quite unusual careers. Ibrahim became an artillery officer and was for a time one of the most influential men in Russia. One of his descendants was the poet Pushkin. Anton Wilhelm studied philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and became a university lecturer, but eventually returned to the Gold Coast and died there. It is reasonable that the two knew each other, being exceptional in Europe and living in courts on friendly terms with each other, but there is up to now no proof of this. The great-great-grandson erected a literary monument to the general of artillery in his tale, The Moor of the Tsar. But the no less fascinating philosopher has had no such memorial. He ought to serve as a direct example for millions of African youth, indeed for a whole generation. For him, a lone African living in Europe, at a time when quote-unquote Negro slavery was common, his own brother had been sold to Suriname. The difficulties on the way to science were even greater than the immense problem which faced African students now. He overcame them and became a master of law, the highest academic rank then attained by a foreigner in Germany. We do not know why the Dukes of Wolfenbüttel did not use the young African as a servant, as was usual in those times, but sent him to Halle to study. The reasons are to be sought in the enlightened petition taken by Anton Ulrich and the personal example of Peter I. After the first mention of Amo, 20 years pass before we hear more. Some household bills and receipts from the court of Wolfenbüttel show his presence, but do not refer to his activities. Then comes a relatively well-documented period at 3 German universities, Halle, Wittenberg, and Jena. Halle and Wittenberg were united in 1817. Today, the Martin Luther University of Halle, Wittenberg preserves the traditions of both. Amo matriculated at Halle on July 9, 1727. He joined the early Enlightenment there and became a pupil of Johann Peter von Ludwig. Under the latter's presidency, he defended his first disputation. So Anton Wilhelm Amo, that they say the slave and is the Negro and all that stuff. With Negroes, you know, are masters of law. They got dissertations talking about the rights of Moors in Europe and all that, which you can't even research and find that anymore. You're only going to find references of it. Which Negroes do you know they're billing stuff for them? Which Negroes do you know that have this sort of status similar to when we look at Deuce Muhammad Ali and the fact that he was in Europe and they weren't dealing with him on slave terms or Negro terms or anything like that. They were dealing with him like he's somebody that has a high reputation and a high status. They deal with them on that level. So for these individuals to make this thing as if more is a negative thing, right? And we should replace the street names in Europe and all that stuff because, you know, the more is negative and it's derogatory or whatever like that, when they have historical documented facts of the presence of Moors there and the impact that they have is absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely let's say the new way of them burying the history, since they can't just bury stuff because things are there. So they can't get rid of things. But, you know, it's like we say with you know, it's all in the language. And if they can make these Moors be perceived as less than they are, because they already know, like Brother Cush and them were saying that, you know, people aren't going to read, people aren't going to study to know what's what. Right? They want to be told what's what. And only in doing the research and the studying and stuff like that are you going to be able to put these pieces, all these different shattered pieces together so you can have a full view of how the world really looks at Moors. You had something?
Because this is about a part of their coat of arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
With those black heads on it. So it's like even with England, the flag they have now, the original flag used to have the 4 black heads in the corner. So they changed that to the one that we see now. Is that so? Could you
say that again?
The ancient flag in England, 4 black heads in the corner.
Right. Yeah.
So now they changed that. So most people now will see the new flag.
Yeah, with just the cross on it, without the heads. Yeah.
So now, if you should know and think about, if we are such of a slave or such of a whatever, what your main piece of our foreheads in the corner?
Mm-hmm.
So they take that out now. So people today now won't know if they don't go research that.
Right.
If you don't tell them. So it's the same thing like what's happening here with the Moorish treaty.
Yeah.
They changed it. It's still one of us, but not the way it was before.
That it was before.
Yeah. You can't bury it, but they kill it, sort of. It's still up. It's not under the ground. It's still there.
Mm-hmm. we are relatively sure that Amo was born in or near Axum in 1703. The reason for his departure from his native land is less certain. Some pose he was captured or sold into slavery, but it is more likely, as Abraham writes, that he was sent to Europe to be brought up as a predicant of the Dutch Reformed Church. The fact that he was able to keep his Ghanaian name Amo points to a non-violent nature of the separation. However, this came to be. We know from court's records that Amo was presented to the Duke Aton Ulrich of Brunswick, Rough Wolfenbuttel in 1707, when he would have been 4 years old. Apparently,
4?
Yeah. 4 years old.
Where is it? Present day Axum right now?
Ghana.
Okay, so you probably had agreements
Hmm?
with that type of deal, like sending a child to a
Yeah.
monastery. So you have to have some relationship.
Some type of relation. Yeah. And then the fact that he was sent, it was like a when and Noir could probably relate to this, when they would send them for a better life and all this stuff. Then they send them to foreign. They go learn, then they're supposed to come back with what they learn, and then they're supposed to build up whatever when they come back, right? Apparently, no guardian could be found for him in the Netherlands, and was therefore sent off to Germany in Lower Saxony. This 29th day of July has been baptized a little more in the Salzstall Castle Chapel, and he has been christened Anton Wilhelm. His godfathers are all of them very noble lordships. So who is it that, who are his parents or his whatever in Axum that knew these lordships or whatever in Netherlands, Germany, or whatever like that they're going to send him to them, and then he's going to end up being doctor of philosophy, doctor of law, master of this and that in Europe after, as he evolved, what I mean? And then to leave there and then go to South America, not go back to Ghana after, right?
Yeah, with what he gained.
With what he gained.
Yeah.
He didn't go back.
To South America.
Yeah. Right. Alton Ulrich of the House of Wealth was an admirer of King Louis of France and a known supporter of scholarship and the arts, towards which he spent handsomely. For example, he hired the philosopher Leibniz as a librarian who would inspire some of the work of Anton Amo and later Abraham himself. One of the few aspects which would put him at odds with his peers was his Catholicism. His most serious work was titled 50 Reasons or Motives Why the Roman Catholic Apostolic Religion Ought to be Preferred to All the Sects This Day in Christendom. Duke Aton was also a proponent of enlightened absolutism, the form of government which Frederick the Great, ruler of Prussia from 1740, would later defend in the famous homonymous essay. The Age of Enlightenment, the pride of the Western tradition, identified reason as the primary source of authority and legitimacy, and popularized the ideas of liberty, progress, tolerance, and fraternity. Even the most enlightened Europeans, including Kant and Hume, stopped short of understanding these ideas as applying to Africans as well, but they still allowed in the first half of the century an environment where Amo and a few other African proteges could study on almost equal footing with their European peers. Another famous example, which preceded Amo by a few years, was that of Ibrahim Hannibal, who was kidnapped by the Ottomans in Eastern or Central Africa and eventually presented to Peter the Great of Russia. He studied in Paris and became a military engineer, general, nobleman, and a prominent member of the imperial court of Peter's daughter Elizabeth.
This is after he got caught up on army.
Yeah. It is also,
So he did a good thing.
yeah, right. It is also worthy to note that Hannibal was the great grandfather of Alexander Pushkin, one of Russia's greatest poets. The patronage granted to Amo by the Duke continued after his death, with his son, the successor, August Wilhelm, who also increased his lavish expenditure for art and entertainment. He probably sent Amo to a grammar school in Wolfenbüttel in 1717, where he got a full classical education, and later on to the University of Helmstedt, which the late Duke Atan had attended. The cessation of the university center and consequent loss of its papers explains the absence of records from this period of Amos' life. The subsequent life sign we have from him to his matriculation into the University of Halle, where he took master level courses in law, presumably after the bachelor degree at Helmstedt. At that point, the Wolfenbüttel court had also stopped financing his studies, and Amo sought to be obtained, and Amo sought and obtained to be matriculated gratis into Halle. The center had been founded only in 1694 and attracted many who professed intellectual freedom and humanist faith. If at Helmstedt, Amo found an hostile and clerical environment and deep disagreement with ideas we know he held, Halle proved a more sympathetic place. Here in Halle resided sometime an African called Antonius Wilmenus Amo, who was in the service of His Royal Highness, the reigning Duke of Wolfenbüttel. And as he had been before, then thoroughly studied the Latin language, he very diligently and with great success studied here with the School of Private Law. In consequence, he became most accomplished in that field. So with the knowledge and consent of his patrons, who up and at the time had kept him, he registered with the Dean von Ludwig publicly to defend a dissertation under him. In order that the argument of the dissertation might suit his status and circumstance, they gave him the theme De jure mororum in Europa. In other words, about the rights of Africans.
Don't you roll, boys? Bring a bell here.
Yeah. De jure mororum in Europa. That was the same dissertation about the rights of the Moors in Europe. But when you translate de jure mororum in Europa, it's about the rights of Africans. So in the language, mororum translates to African. So even Africans are relative to Moors, not Africans are Africans. Same thing that we say that Moor and African are synonymous terms because they mean the same thing, dark-skinned people. But it's not Africanus or Africano or African, whatever. It's Moro for African, right? Therein, not only has he shown, basing himself upon law and history, that the kings of the Africans were at one time vassal to the Roman emperor, and that every one of them had an imperial patent, which Justinian too had granted. But he also especially examined what extent the freedom or severability of Africans in Europe who had been bought by Christians was according to laws commonly accepted at the time. Weekly newspaper of the University of Halle, 1729. It is notable how Amo tried to convince his examiners of the injustice of the conditions of Africans in Europe, not on the basis of morality, piety, or religion, but by showing how Europeans, in not recognizing the inviolability of African individuals, were breaking the Roman law, to which medieval, Renaissance, and enlightened Europe prided itself to descend from. In other words, Amo sought to show not that Africans were adequate as human beings, but that Europeans were inadequate, at least as law-abiding citizens. No copy of this dissertation has been found, but it was mentioned in Gottfried Ludwig's Universal History in 1744. Amo left Halle in 1729 as soon as he finished his thesis, but before he could be awarded his degree, when a wave of clericalism took over the University of Halle, he joined the University of Wittenberg in September of the following year. Here, Amo was finally granted the degree of Master of Philosophy and Liberal Arts, which in a few years would be known as a Doctor of Philosophy, based on his examinations at Halle. To understand why the divide between clericalists and anti-clericalists, the freethinkers, was so important to drive students and professors to and away from study centers in Europe, where essentially everyone was a believer, the following passage provides a good picture. The medical men have ranged themselves in two sects these days, if we can speak in such a world. First, there was the mechanists, and second, the stallions. Of them, the former endeavor to maintain that the vital actions in the human body originate and for the most part act in health as in sickness mechanically and by use of the body physiology. They say even that the medicaments applied act in a mechanical way in the body, and hence that the soul contributes little or nothing to all of this. To this, the stallions state the opposite view, namely that the human soul is the prime mover of the body, and that the body through its physiological structure is only a mobile instrument. Also, that the medicaments applied are only stimulants which prompt the soul to motion. 1734.
Stallions work for them in that time?
Stallions were the free thinkers,
right,
of that time. Which again, when we look at today, we see that free thinking isn't something that's going on right now. You know, it's the idea of Drew Isaiah, get a good education, get a good European education, then I could use you. And then you go through all this stuff, you realize that the good education is the liberal arts and all the sciences, the astrology, the astronomy, and all the things that are necessary to make the people better citizens. Right? Anton Wilhelm Amo on the apatheia of the human mind. Whatever feels, lives, whatever lives depends on nourishment. Whatever lives and depends on nourishment grows. Whatever is of this nature is in the end resolved into its basic principles. Whatever comes to be resolved into its basic principles is complex. Every complex has its constituent parts, Whatever this is true of is a divisible body. If therefore the human mind feels, it follows that it is a divisible body. Losher attached the following note to Amos's thesis. We proclaim Africa and its region of Guinea planted apart at a very great distance from us, formerly the Golden Coast, so-called Europeans on account of its abundant and copious yield of gold, but know by us as your fatherland, in which you first saw the light of day, the mother not only of many good things, the treasures of nature, but also the most auspicious minds. We proclaim her quite deservingly. Among these auspicious minds, your genius stands out particularly, most noble and most distinguished, sir, seeing that you have excellently proved that felicity and superiority of your genius, the solidarity and refinement of your learning and teaching in countless examples up to now, and even in this our university, with great honor in all worthy things, and now also in your present dissertation. I return to you still complete and absolutely unchanged in any respect, that which you have worked out with proper conscientiousness in an elegant manner, supported with erudition, in order that the power of your intellect may shine forth all the more strongly henceforth. It now only remains for me to congratulate you wholeheartedly on this singular example of your refined scholarship, and with a more abundant feeling of heart than words can convey, I solicit for you all good fortune, and that the divine grace, and also to the highest and most noble Prince Ludwig Randolph, for whose health and safety I shall never tire of worshiping the divine majesty, I commend you. I write this at Wittenberg in Saxon in the month of April 1730, Gothef Losher. This note is in stark contrast, for example, with a footnote which the Scottish Hume appended to one of his essays, which now features prominently in the neo-Nazi Stormfront. I am apt to suspect the Negroes, and in general, all the other species of men, for there are 4 or 5 different kinds, to be naturally inferior to whites. There never was a civilized nation of any other complexion than white, nor even any individual eminent either in action or speculation. No ingenious manufacturers amongst them, no arts, no sciences. On the other hand, the most rude and barbarous of whites, such as the ancient Germans, the present Tartars, have still something eminent about them, in their valor, form of government, or some other particular. Such a uniform and constant difference could not happen in so many countries and ages, if nature had not made an original distinction between these breeds of men. Not to mention our colonies, there are Negro slaves dispersed all over Europe, of which none ever discovered any symptom of ingenuity. Though low people without education will start up amongst us and distinguish themselves in every profession. In Jamaica, indeed, they talk of one Negro as a man of parts and learning, but it's likely he is admired for very slender accomplishments, like a parrot who speaks few words plainly. David Hume, of National Characters, 1753. And then they have a picture of
That person?
Francis Williams, who's somebody else, but he's in an office with a library behind him, and he's at the table like Drew Ali with his hand on the table, and then he's dressed up. He doesn't look like no Negro or anything like that. So you already know these people are playing their little game to try to make it seem as if our people aren't qualified or whatever like that, when we are right and exact. He's more travel safe, right? He's just all right. Between 1734 and 1736, Amo returned to Hale, where the free thinkers were growing in strength again. Duke Wilhelm had died in 1731 without children and was succeeded by his brother Ludwig Randolph. Ludwig died shortly after in 1735, him also without heirs. This worsened Amo's financial situation and social standing, as his connection to the court of Wolfenbüttel was now tenuous and disappearing. From Halle University records, 21st of July, 1736. Anthony William Amo, Master of Philosophy and Liberal Arts, born in Guinea on the coastal province of Africa, has put forward a petition in which he asks that the same right of delivering public lectures in certain parts of philosophy be given to him among us, as he used to enjoy in the area of Wittenberg. When this request had been communicated to each person, it was with great pleasure that this facility was granted to this learned but poor man, who had indeed only recently lost his most serene benefactor. And then you could just do your research on Anton Wilhelm Amo. Anton Wilhelm Amo, the first, they say, black philosopher in the 18th century Europe. Any thoughts or questions? Let's check this chat. So we know that the idea of getting rid of the names, the idea of Brother Jose Pimenta Bay talked about when he was doing his studies, all the books in Europe say Moor, and then all the same books over here say Negro. So you know it's a campaign to get more out of the circulation, so that when the people read it, their mindset is, the people here, when they read, their mindset goes, oh yeah, these people were Negroes or whatever like that, so they don't even consider them to be anybody. Yeah. When really, you know, it's a Moorish origin. All these individuals, scholars, philosophers, whoever.
That could even contribute to us taking so long to find out about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for them over there,
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere that they can't even hide it.
The beer, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We have nothing here.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Not even the flag. I don't remember you used to see this flag.
Yeah.
I never remember unless it's like Morocco people you see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nothing really take place over here because Morocco for you to see commonly around.
Yeah. You know, which is the, you know, goes back again to the importance of Drew Ali and what he presented in the 1920s, us not being Negro, black, colored, and then that stuff was supposed to blow up to the point of, you know, everybody knowing, because we have the world as a reference point to show that the Moor is something that's of way more a high stature than Negro, black, colored, African, and all the other stuff. Because anywhere we go, like we were talking about with the Sri Lankans, you know, all of them are Moors, and they know that they're Moors. And then all the Filipinos, they know that they're Moors. And then all the people in New Zealand and Australia and all of them know that they're Maori. And it's a pattern everywhere in the world except this place, the wilderness of North America, where the people have been dumbed down to the point of they have no clue who it is that they are. And when they get presented with it, they, like we said with yesterday, there's foreigners running up. There was only foreigners riding by and said, "Oh wow, that's the Moroccan flag. Why do they have a Moroccan flag in the park and all that stuff? Who are you people? What are you doing here? What's going on here?" Only foreigners. Our people, I mean, stiff-necked, hard-headed. They only learn at the point of a sword.
Talking under their breath.
Right? You know, which is why, you know, this thing of I was speaking with one of the Moors there yesterday. You know, I found out about this. Somebody told me about this, but how come this wasn't promoted and, you know, whatever, with regard to the barbecue? You know, how come it wasn't promoted? Somebody told me or whatever. That's how I ended up here. Yeah, that's how you're supposed to end up here. That's how you're supposed to end up here. You're not gonna end up here because, you know, you seen a billboard. Yeah, you know, a billboard. Yeah, right. It's because you got hit to game from the energy bringing you here. You know what I mean? Same thing with the temple. Same thing with the nation. That this is generally for people who want it. You know, because again, we can go through the pictures and we can X out everybody who was here, used to be here, and this is going, you know, 10, 15 years. People who, you know, they showed up one time, never seen them ever again. You know, ever again. Like they left the planet. I haven't seen them. You know what I mean? You know, and then there's the ones who, once they get in, they're in. They're in 100, they're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Because they realize that it's the nationality, it's the birthright, it belongs to them. You know? Right?
Can we touch base on the what you said about when you get your first fez?
Mm-hmm.
I was curious to know what kind of ritual goes down.
You have anything about when you got your fez first time? Just what you went through with it? I know Rennie has this. Yeah.
I regret off it.
Yeah.
It was
Mm.
experience.
Or anybody else?
When I first got mine, I already got the flag. And I was just waiting on the fez. Right?
Yeah.
The flag, and I'm not waiting on the fez because it's coming from over, you know, across the measure. Right? When I first got it, it was just like bro, Tariq could tell you. Tariq was there because I was at Tariq's place, the other Tariq, and it was like a magical moment. It was like a child in the candy store, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're taking the shot, and like, no, let me take another one, you know? And it's just that thing on your head. You gotta make sure the first picture is right, you know?
Yeah.
As you touch on the picture, that's the thing for me now. What might make when I get my own first on, it's a different time. When I take my picture to make my ID, because I couldn't wait for mine to come.
Yeah.
So I took it up I get a borrow feeling before I get my real thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for that one to come. So borrow.
Yeah. And I mean, and different Moors have different, you know, situations. Like what you had any mystical moments when you got yours?
Well, I think from what I remember, geez, it seems so long.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but because when I first got it, we were just going through the grill, and so it was like what was mentioned previously. It was that moment that it was almost like the ancestors came back, and we put on your head there, and you started walking around, and just the feeling of so we would travel down the road with it.
going to malls and that, and it was just all the eyes that were on the street.
Yeah.
It's almost a feeling of how you get paranoid after.
Yeah.
It's like a never before.
Okay, they're actually watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true. This is what I have a native fez, and I noticed with the native fez, I get a lot more attention than I have with this big one. And see the task what I mean.
Yeah.
But I got it from a Moor out in the States somewhere. But yeah, it's just so true. Everybody does look at you and compliment you, and then you have to correct them and say it's not a hat, it's a fez.
Yeah.
And then they say nice to you. You say no, it's not nice. It's nice. They call me stupid. Even my nana used to call me stupid.
Yeah, we're traveling hard now. Whenever we travel back and forth, we always wear it. It's like find a lot of stewardess and airline agents. They're always commenting.
Yeah.
Going through the girl.
Yeah.
Like when you mentioned about people looking at you knitted one, I have a knitted one. I wear it all the time. And so my wife and I were both shopping about a month ago, and I didn't pay any attention. So I came out and started walking to the store. I guess someone saw me, and he started taking a video. I had no clue. So when I came back from the car, she was telling me that guy took the picture and was there taking a video of it. And I had no idea. And it was just a knitted version as opposed to the fez itself. But it just draws the attention, and you don't. A lot of times you're not really aware of it, but they're watching.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I had there was same thing. I had the knitted one, and the European came up. He's like, "Is that a fez?" Yeah, it's a version of a fez or whatever. It's like, oh, we're at work. He's like, oh man, you know what? Well, I'm gonna bring my fez tomorrow or whatever. So the next day he came with his fez, you know what I mean? And then I came with my fez, and we were walking around. Everybody was tripping all day, like, what's going on? Is there a convention or something? Like, what? Are you guys part of something? Everybody was just not knowing what's going on, because me and this European just walking around with fez. Every time we see each other, we just, how you doing? Whatever. And everybody messed up all day, yeah.
Like the 7-inch.
Yeah. And I think he had got his traveling or something like that. He went to Morocco or something, and he had his, so he brought his, and he's like, man, that was a crazy experience. People were asking me all day, why am I wearing this, and what happened, and whatever. But yeah.
I always get questions from foreigners, foreign people from here. I've seen that in years.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Yeah.
Morocco. Oh, Marrakesh. No. Morocco here.
Yeah.
Here, like some of them know, some of them you have to explain.
You gotta explain it.
And we get like, okay.
Yeah. It's true.
Good to see.
Yeah. Straight up.
All right.
Yeah.
They always tell me good to wear. I said, it's for all people that don't wear it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace, brother. How you doing?
How
Salam.
are you?
Everything's good. We're just about to close off.
You don't forget me, right?
No. We can't forget.
I was just thinking you forgot us.
So actually my father passed away, so I went back to home.
Oh, condolences. Yeah.
Brother, how are you? Mashallah. How's everything?
Yeah, we're just getting ready to close up.
Mashallah, no problem.
We're just
I came after a long time because I just.
You just came back.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not just because after that Eid started and Ramadan started.
Yeah.
So that's why, but we will keep in connection.
For sure.
So how is everything? How is everyone?
Everything's good. Everybody's healthy.
Someone of your stature coming to the temple. It was my first time seeing somebody you do Ramadan, you do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that work out for you?
Good. You can visit because we have a plan that all the people they will visit the masjid. What you call temple, it is actually masjid. Quran is.
Yeah, he's from the Nor one, right over there.
Right over here.
Yeah, the masjid right over there. Yeah.
You've not been here, that's why you don't see, you've been here more than many times.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, a few times. Yeah.
So where is this brother Umar?
Yeah, I worked today. He had work
He
today.
has work.
Yeah. He had yesterday. Today and a couple weekends. I think the next few weekends or something.
He's
Yeah.
busy.
He's busy. He's caught up. Yeah.
When you are gonna visit, because you told us you will visit.
Yeah. Well, remember that was
February, I think.
like February or sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, now we are in July.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, keep this connection alive.
Yeah,
As
for
I
sure.
told you that-
For sure.
That Allah Ta'ala connected us.
Yeah.
There will be some reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For
He
sure.
brought
For sure.
up from here and he connected with you.
With
There are millions of hundreds of people are walking around and we make the connection.
Right.
So let's
keep the connection.
keep
Yeah.
connection
For sure.
on,
For sure.
Not to forget that.
Yeah.
Well, how often is your temple open?
It's all the time.
Yeah.
We go there. It opens in the like morning at 5 o'clock and we close at 11 o'clock. In summer it is like that.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And in winter it closes like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Because we pray there as per Quran.
You guys are a lot more established than us Moors here, which is great. You know, we can't deny that. But from my understanding, we're opening the doors here
On Sunday.
No, it's like now. Supposedly, we're gonna try to do it during the week. From my understanding, right, Cujo?
Yeah. We got some summer hours now.
Yeah.
So we're here Monday to Thursday,
Oh wow.
3 to about 8. 3 to about 8 o'clock. Yeah.
So all the
So we'll be
people
here.
participate.
We'll be here.
But about
here in
your
the
work, man.
No, I sometimes like I'm
Yeah.
But that will be nice.
Yeah. Because I'm usually I'm off for summertime. I'm off work in the summer.
So who will take
So-
your responsibility?
After? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You have to find
We'll
something
see.
that's good.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll see.
It's really good at what he does, right?
Yeah.
So we call him the Grand Chief.
Yeah.
You're right. He's the right chief.
Yeah.
So when you are starting the vacation?
Hmm?
When you are starting the vacation?
Oh, it started already. Started already. Yeah. From June. Yeah, from beginning of July. We started. I start vacation June, August. July, August. I'm off.
July, that's
Yeah, July, August. I'm off. So yeah. So it's because school's finished.
But the administratives are still in, right?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, they're in until I think they're next. I think this week is their last week. I think.
Good. That helps myself.
Yeah.
So from when you will start coming in the weekdays?
We started already. I'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, you
Yeah. So because the school, the children's school, they have summer camp from 9 a.m. until 4, and then I'm here from 3 until 8.
There you go.
So we're here pretty much for July. We're here. Yeah. We're here every day.
Okay.
Every day is at least gonna be open every day. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. It should be open because in masjid or temple is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
As long as you can
Yeah.
participate instead of just going behind the word.
Right. Gotta do it. It's a lot more. So we'll just close out and we'll be here for a little bit.
Okay,
So
so
we
I
got
will
some time.
we will keep contact.
Yeah, well, for sure.
See you next week, brother.
All right.
Okay, nice to see you.
All right, good to see you.
Good to see you. Okay, brother. Okay, brother. Next week, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah.
See you next week. Okay, brother. Next week, sorry. Okay, brother. Peace. Okay, brother.
Peace out.
Nice to see you next week, hopefully. Okay, what's your good name? Justice. Okay, well, nice name. Okay,
I
brother.
like how you say it's my good name.
Very nice name. Okay.
All right. Islam, boys. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love. Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night and by day. Through our holy prophet. Noble Ali. Islam. Moors.
You know, I was literally thinking in my head, I'm like, yo, man.
What happened to that?
What's interesting? We brought it up a week ago, last week.
Oh yeah, it was last week we brought it up, right?
We were
Yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
go over and see them. Remember Omar was talking
That's good, boy.
Three to 8.
Yeah.
It's a long time. You can do 3 to 8 p.m.
Yeah. Islam Moors, peace and love.